going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of It's Paranormal or Unexplained. I'm your host, Nick, and my co host, Jason.
What's going on, everybody? Y'all getting swifty in here?
How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you all for coming in. Tonight's topic is going to be shadow people. So, I'm the one that picked this one out this week. So,
Yep. So this is all bad. Y'all get him.
thank you, Jason. So,
No, I got faith in it,
I know you do.
even though I don't believe in ghosts.
Well, that's the thing. Like, this phenomenon has gone on for years, for a very, very long time.
Oh yeah. I mean, whether you believe in ghosts or not, you fucking heard of shadow people.
Yeah. Basically, this is like like people have had this in like folklore and things like that. But shadow people are basically just like a black mass that basically takes a humanoid shape or a shadowy figure that crawls around. This is basically like throughout all
That's
generations.
just creepy. I just fucking pictured a fucking shadowy person just doing that crab walk thing like from The Exorcist.
Well, I've never seen anything like that, thankfully, but
if you did, that'd be fucking weird too.
That would freak me out completely.
Well, that'd be the end of our show. Paranormal Unexplained. Well, can't get any more better than that. Thanks for coming, guys.
But this phenomenon basically has had like a lot of people on the fence of either if it's like something spiritual, something like ghostly, apparition like, or something that's actually more natural, either psychological or something that just people have hallucinated. You could look at it both ways, but I'm going to start off with the whole entire like scientific theory to it.
Yes. Let's get the boring analogy out of the way.
Now, the whole entire scientific theory of it is that if it's psychological, people that have like schizophrenia or stuff like that have obviously seen things like this, and that's basically just that their mind is producing something like that. It's not real. Like, they have more common occurrences, but that's just because of a mental disorder. Now, there's another thing that I don't know if everybody's familiar with that's called sleep paralysis.
See, I'm pretty sure this is like the whole reason why people don't want to ever say they see a ghost, because people start being like, you got schizophrenia, don't you?
Well, right. Like, everybody, like, if anybody usually, like, says, okay, well, I experienced something, usually it's, all right, well, what were you doing? Or, do you have mental problems? In fact, the times that I've gone to an investigation, some of the questions that we have to ask, and yes, it's embarrassing, is do you or do like anybody in your family have had psychological problems with like
oh yeah, I mean you gotta rule out the fucking nutty off the bat.
Yeah, you have to do it because 9 times out of 10, it's
you don't always get lucky and get that like skinny dude dressed up like his mom.
No.
Answer the door and you're like, all right, yeah, I'm just a nutcase.
No, I've never had that, thankfully.
Would you like to see my Christmas figurines? No, we're just gonna go.
But yeah. So the whole thing with sleep paralysis, when we sleep, our body goes into a natural state of paralysis. Now, let's say you normally get like 8 hours of sleep in the night. In about 4 hours, you basically hit the lowest point of sleep, which is basically like our REM sleep, which is where you dream. And it takes another 4 hours for you to actually come out and wake up. Now, as you're coming out of that, in the next 4 hours, your body is basically trying to like release. I don't remember if it was a hormone or an enzyme to flush out what made your body go into this state of paralysis. What happens is either your body doesn't release out enough, or you just wake up faster than what you normally do, and you're kind of stuck in this state of paralysis.
Yeah, the best way, like when you were talking about it earlier, like I heard it explained to me, is that everything in your body has an impulse time, whether that's a chemical reaction or a nervous reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And even sending a chemical reaction to the brain takes time.
Yes.
And your brain perceives time differently.
Yes.
And so during a time of what they call actual sleep paralysis, where you're cognitive of your surroundings,
Mm-hmm.
but you're incapable of responding to them, is because there's that gap between your cognitive brain and your body receiving the chemicals. Now in reality, like if you weren't asleep and you were looking at yourself from the outside,
Mm-hmm.
it's only taking a matter of seconds for those chemicals to hit your body and you wake up. But in your mind, because of the way you perceive time differently in your mind, you felt like you've been sitting there for an hour trying to desperately wake yourself up.
Yeah.
That's the best way I've ever heard it explained to me.
Yeah. Like you're what feels like something that lasts for hours, only like mere seconds or minutes have gone by in reality. Um, but as I was saying, as you're trying to come out of sleep, your body doesn't release enough to like flush out the hormone or the enzyme that was originally introduced to make you paralyzed. So you're in this state of kind of like in between, like you're trying to wake up but you're not. It's really hard to explain because I've experienced
Right,
it before.
your brain's awake, but your body's not.
Exactly, exactly. So you can open your eyes, you can look around, but that's about as far as you're getting. Like
Yeah,
you're not
that's what
getting.
I was talking about. What I meant cognitive, meaning that, like, if your eyes are open, now your brain is picking up the impulses from your eyes. You can see what your eyes are seeing.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't get your body to respond. And then sometimes, while the people see, like, for example, like movement or something in their dreams,
Mm-hmm.
is because they're still in a stasis in their brain of, like you just said, REM cycle sleep.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't woke up out of that dream state fully yet.
Right.
But their brain's cognitive enough, though, that it's still picking up the signals from, like, your visual signals from your eyes.
Right.
So you're seeing your fucking real house or your bedroom, but then your brain, because you're in sleep state, is throwing in like hallucinations and little tricks.
Yes.
So that's, guess that's how you can say it, I guess.
Yes. Oh, that's basically what happens. Like most people that have sleep paralysis have seen these entities come into their room and basically describe them as just a shadowy figure, like humanoid, but just a total black shadow, just like either standing over them or approaching them or standing over their beds, something like that.
Now, are
And
we gonna throw the shadow people in the same row as like that? The shadow people that are kind of like black misty figures,
well,
or
that's
are
the
we
other.
just going like black solid mass apparitions?
This is the whole entire scientific part. The whole entire spiritual part would be like the black mass apparition, something that appears out of your peripheral vision, which I've encountered before. But there's like also supposedly a scientific part of that as well. Um, the whole explanation for that is for people that are basically like either severely sleep deprived or people that are have like a drug problem because there are people that have been reported to be like on meth that basically due to sleep
Likely, probably because they're sleep deprived.
exactly they're high on meth so they don't sleep and then they start hallucinating these things.
Yeah, because and that's just that go. I think that just go. Yeah, with pure sleep deprivation. Because I know from myself that I've seen shadow figures and shit, not ghosts, and I
Mm-hmm.
calm down.
Yeah.
But like, all right, when I was in the military, we'd be on guard and stuff. Sometimes you would roll into like where just schedules got really fucked up.
Yeah.
Like I would go on guard at like 2 in the morning, and then be getting off at 6, and then at 6:30, I'm rolling out on like a 10-mile patrol,
Mm-hmm.
and then I gotta come back in, and then when we get back in, we got like duty rosters, so now I gotta go and help build sandbags,
Mm-hmm.
and then by the time I get done that night, I'm back on guard duty.
Yeah. So
And
you're just
sometimes, so
constantly
I'm up for like over 24 hours. My body's exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you'll be sitting there, and you'll just when you're starting to slow down, not like when you're real busy doing something, but when you slow down and your brain starts to relax for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden you'll like either hear something or you'll see like a little shadow figure, and it's never like right in front of you, like when you see something walk out in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like some movement
Yeah.
or like something jarring in your peripheral vision.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember seeing.
Mm-hmm. And
But I
that's
remember going to sleep, waking up, and then never seeing them again.
right. And
So,
that's basically like people who have seen or had encounters with shadow people basically say that they've had like the common thing is basically it's out of their peripheral vision. It's like right out of the corner of their eye.
hmm
Now, the whole entire paranormal aspect of it, or spiritual aspect of it, is that these creatures are basically spirits, um, spirits of people who passed away but never like wanted to move on. So they basically just decided to remain here.
I just, I don't, I mean, yeah, I think like when I die, I'm gonna miss all this
Mm-hmm.
because it's a wonderful thing. I think we take this world and everything and everybody around us for granted a lot of the times.
Right.
And so, of course, when we die, we're gonna miss that.
Right.
But I don't think I'm gonna want to stick around really because of the fact, like, what exactly am I gonna do now? My body's dead. I
Well,
can't
here's
really do anything.
well here's the thing. What if they can't? Because obviously we don't know what happens when we die. We
Right.
don't know what's on the other side. So what if they can't move on?
Well, then
They don't have a
why stay there in that house? Why, like, I'd be going down and I'd be haunting, like, the nearest bar or arcade. I'd be getting fucking tore up every night. I mean, I can't die.
well, that's the whole thing. Why not just stay somewhere where you're most familiar with, and either you're most familiar with or where you feel the most comfortable with people,
Yeah.
and try to like make sure they're safe and they're protected. Like in my opinion, if the whole entire shadow people thing is somebody that died and didn't pass on, when somebody dies, we think, okay, they moved on, they're in a better place. So instead of somebody coming in as a full apparition, they basically show themselves as that because we think that person has already moved on.
Right. See,
That's Go ahead.
like, if the one thing that throws me off also with shadow people is that if they did exist, like, these can't be something that's good because, well, why would it like always try not to be seen? Like,
Probably because they don't have the energy to manifest.
well, I mean,
Um,
even the fact is that it's always in your peripheral. It's never like dead in front of you. Like if they were trying to be seen or something.
it's not. It's not always in your peripheral. There are some cases where it basically somebody appeared like right in front of you. I've had it happen to me before, but you also have to take into account there's no real evidence of it. Everybody's always seen it out of like the corner of their eye, probably because they don't want to be seen, they don't want to be known. Number one, number two, our eyes only pick up certain things in like the spectrum that we have.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just something like we just picked up, but we can't really see constantly. You know.
Yeah. mean, one of my favorite theories was the whole fact that like kind of like dying's kind of like evolution.
Mm-hmm.
That I think a good way. One of the closest quotes I can remember having to do something with this is, you're a Doctor Who fan too,
Well, yes.
and there's a scene in there where they're talking about the afterlife when people die,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, "Oh, where do you go when you die?" And they're like, "Well, see, that's the thing. Nobody really knows. They think that you die and that's it. You're dead. You're gone." But he's like, what did you think when you were a baby inside your mom's stomach?
Mm-hmm.
And if you could talk to all the other babies and all the other stomachs, and everybody could like fluently talk with each other, and all of a sudden people just started getting ripped out of it,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, they're gone. They're
Yeah.
gone. We'll never see them again."
Yeah.
And then, then you come out, and now you're in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So when you die and you go over to the other side, who's to say that there's not a whole different plane of existence world beyond then?
Right.
It's just a different evolution of life.
Right.
So I can see where people could get behind the theory that, spirits can exist, but I don't see the science or math behind it.
Well, right. Like, I know you don't believe in that either, so that it's
Yeah.
the whole interdimensional or other dimensional theory right now.
Would that even be ghosts, though?
Well, yeah.
That would still be ghosts if they're just like a different dimension?
Well, yeah.
Wouldn't that be like just a dimensional being?
In my theory is basically, okay, there are other dimensions. There are other, like, there's obviously, if you go by the whole entire infinite reality theory as well, there's other realities with a copy of us in each one. To me personally,
Right.
the whole spiritual realm, there's probably another reality that's just very, very close to ours. That's just like pushed up against ours, and that's how they're basically kind of like crossing in. If you understand what I'm saying.
I got you.
It's like very, very thin to us. Well, obviously, we can't see it, we can't touch it, we can't go to it, but it's still there and it still exists. We just can't.
I got you.
We just can't go to it. Kind of like the upside down in Stranger Things.
Yeah, I got you. But okay, so we got like how the shadow people are around and what they look like and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What do you get? You got any like good stories? Good stories.
Like I said, I have a couple personal stories, like nothing major.
Ooh. Well, I mean, that's got to classify as evidence if it's your own personal.
Well, yeah, but I mean, still, I don't have like any kind of video or photography or anything like that. But
Right.
when I was still living in my first apartment, this was like probably almost 10 years ago. I remember I was working like a lot of overtime. I wasn't like completely sleep deprived. Like I was still like getting at least like a good 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. I remember being home, like doing my shift, coming home, just like being in the kitchen making something to eat, and then seeing like something come out of a hallway and just like dart right up in front of my face, like aggressively, like it was gonna do something to me, and then just disappear as soon as I turned my head.
God damn, you came out of the corner, goddamn shadow people flinched on you.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's like,
there
what?
was.
Hello, you flinched.
Yeah, there was like a couple weird things that happened in my apartment, but like shadow people wise, that was like the first one that happened at that apartment. Another time,
Oh, that apartment, man.
Yeah.
They followed you.
Well, if this is like my like goes with my theory, then they're basically all over the place. They don't follow; they're just everywhere. You know, if you look at it like that.
Different time and space kind of thing.
Well, not so much different time, just different area, different location. Like it doesn't matter where you go; they're always going to be there. It's just a different entity, no matter where you go.
Kind of like on that, kind of like the Death Stranding thing.
Kind of. in a
Which
sense.
I haven't gotten any farther in that game because I don't know where the hell I'm going. I've just been walking for days.
If you look at it the way I described it, basically, if there's another dimension, basically like pushed up against ours, where basically when we die, our soul or whatever you want to call it goes into and is basically kind of like a mirror of our world. No matter what, there's always going to be shadow people around in like our reality right now. If you want to look at it like that, you understand?
So, these things are like people from a different universe, and we're seeing their after images.
Yes.
Okay, so this is just a theory. Like, I'm not trying to discredit or anything. I'm just
Right.
an honest to God question.
Right.
Like,
I know.
what one of the theories is about like all time dimension and everything is one of the certain rules is two things consisting and being made of the same matter can't exist in the same spot at the same time.
Right.
So if I was to walk into an after image of like my universal doppelganger, would anything happen?
Well, no, because they don't exist in the same space as us.
But wouldn't part of their matter still exist if it's an image being left behind?
Not
and then
really,
since I'm consistent of that same matter.
Not really, because it's a totally different matter at that point. You gotta understand.
Yeah.
You gotta.
I guess because
you gotta understand, like the difference between soul and body are two separate things. Obviously, if these are ghosts, if you want, like, to put it bluntly,
but I
these
still
are
possess
ghosts.
my soul, even though I have a body. But I still possess my soul, even though I don't have even though I have a body.
Right. Your soul is still yours, regardless.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. If my soul wouldn't be the exact same soul as that person's. I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there goes my stupid question for this thing. So go ahead.
It wasn't a stupid question, man. So don't say that. Another time, I was doing ghost hunting with my one friend, and it was at a cemetery. It was later on at night. She was probably about 10, 20 feet ahead of me, and I was following her up. And I remember just like looking up for a minute, and it looked like somebody that was like crouching down just immediately just like stand up in front of me. That was just pure black shadow. And as soon as I looked up at it, it just vanished.
That's some creepy shit.
Another time I was at work, and I remember like there was nobody else like really in the place except for like just us in the one department. I think like one other person in the maintenance department, which is all the way at the other end of the building. But I remember looking down, like if you were standing in the main hallway, you look down, you can see you have like a clear line of sight all the way down to the other building, like all the way down. I remember seeing just like this shadow figure basically just standing there at the other end, just staring at me and kind of like tilt its head over and then just disappear.
Like it's just watching you?
Yeah. Like it came, like it was walking down, it just stopped and just looked at me, kind of just like tilted its head to the side and then just disappeared.
Oh, so this thing has like intelligence.
Some of them, yes.
Because it noticed you.
Yes, yes.
Because if it was like an afterprint image, like you were saying, I don't. How would it have intelligence?
You'd still have like there is some. The different types of haunting is basically you have residual and then you have like poltergeist activity, which is basically intelligent hauntings. So if these shadow people are linked to the poltergeist activity, then basically they have intelligence, they know what's going on, they know that there's somebody there. They just lack the energy to manipulate or move or converse. Because
I gotta ask a question because I think this might give any curiosity that people might have for what you're saying.
Hmm.
Do you believe shadow people are ghosts of us or ghosts of people from a different dimension? Do you think that like we have more of the like you see arms and limbs and faces
Hmm.
because we were from here, and so we manifest better than we do as if like shadow people from a different universe?
Well, well, that's like,
Or not universe, dimension. Sorry.
well, that's the whole entire thing. What are you getting at? Like shadow people from another dimension? You're
Like
meaning?
you were saying that that there's like an alternate universe that like shadow people could be their imprint in this universe.
Well, no. I'm not saying like
Okay, well
I'm
then I
not
missed
going.
the
Yeah,
got
I
confused.
wasn't like saying like the whole entire like. Okay, what I basically was trying to say is like when we die, when we pass away, our obviously our physical body remains, but our soul goes somewhere else.
Hmm.
Okay, that is what turns into a shadow person. That is what I was trying to get at.
Okay,
You see what I'm
I'm just
saying?
trying to just like decipher what the difference between a ghost that like people see that's like all together, then what's the difference between that and a shadow out of the corner of your eye?
The shadow is basically just how it appears at that point in time, because that's basically what it chooses to
Not
appear
enough
as.
power or whatever.
Yeah, not enough power, or that's what it chooses to appear to because it doesn't want anybody to know that it's stuck there. Because, like I said, you think when we pass away, the people that loved us and cared about us in this world basically think we moved on to a better place, we're at peace and whatnot. If the case is that we go to this other dimension and we're stuck there and we didn't move on to this whole entire place of peace and happiness, and we're basically stuck there, would you want to appear as yourself as a full body apparition to the people that you love and that cared about you, that already
Maybe.
basically think that already basically think you already moved on and they're trying to cope and move on from your loss?
Can I talk to them?
No, because you don't have
So
the
they
energy. You don't have the energy to
so
converse or
all
manipulate.
I'd be doing is frightening them.
Yes. Would you want to be basically showing up as yourself like that?
No, but there is other places I'd like to go.
Well, right, I understand that. I know we discussed what you would like to do.
Like to show to certain people's houses and just scare the shit out of them.
Yes.
Wait, so but you're stuck there
Hmm.
wherever you died at. That's where you're stuck.
Basically. Well, you're not stuck in that house. Like I said, to me, they basically go to that place because they're most familiar and most comfortable with it. Because you think you lived in the same house for so many years, that's your home. That's where you're most
Could
comfortable.
trauma trap you somewhere as a shadow person, or is that more of like full blown poltergeist kind of?
I'm pretty sure that trauma, like a traumatic incident, could trap you somewhere. Yes. And poltergeist is more of just like a playful spirit. It's more. It has the energy to manipulate things, move things, open and slam doors. That's what a poltergeist is.
Okay, I got you.
So a poltergeist isn't like necessarily just like one type of spirit. A shadow person could be a poltergeist. The only thing is that the shadow person is basically manifesting itself that way because that's the way it's choosing to manifest itself, or the only way that it can manifest itself.
Right. Okay. Well, I didn't know if there was just like different breeds, or I don't know how you would say it, classes or whatever
It
of
would be
ghosts.
probably more classes. I think it would all more go by how much energy the spirit has, because the
Like how
more
long they've been dead.
not so much how long they've been dead, but just how much energy they have to actually manifest itself. The reason, like to me, the reason why it's showing up as a shadow person is probably because that's all the energy they have to manifest itself as, versus like something that has like that's been able to show up as a full body apparition, showing like actual like facial features and things like that. Probably because it has more energy to do that, whereas a shadow person does not.
Its environment suits it better than where the one that's like a shadowy figure doesn't.
Yes, either that or
That's kind of like how people say that spirits draw energy from like lime rock and water
people's
and all this
emotions,
stuff.
electronic devices. Yes.
So you'd be more likely to see a full bodied apparition around large points of water, limestone kind of stones, and
Mm-hmm.
than you would like a cabin in the middle of the woods where you'd most likely see a shadow apparition because there's no water around or
Mm-hmm.
nothing like that.
Right. Right.
Okay, I got you. Well, I remember seeing this one story about shadow people a long time ago, and it was kind of creepy, but it was, I don't know if it was like, because I know in the story it goes that it ends up as a shadow person,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't start off as a shadow person. Like, it was just a story of like, I saw it on one of these, not like paranormal TV shows or nothing, but
Mm-hmm.
on one of these like blog sites, and somebody was telling their story about something that happened to them. They said that she was little and she had just lost her grandpa or grandmother or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and she was in bed and she was scared because they were staying somewhere that she'd never been before for the funeral and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she said while she was scared, she said she just remembers like this, what she said looked like a kind of like a cloudy mist, like but really dense and dark,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like ease into the room. But she said she wasn't scared by it. It was just it was more comforting than anything.
Right.
And she said it just like kind of got to the edge of the bed and then just kind of like changed its shape into like a humanoid looking figure, kind of, but still a shadowy figure.
Right.
And it just kind of like stood there like as if it was keeping her company.
Right.
And the girl's theory was that it was her grandma
Mm-hmm.
standing with her to
Comfort
make her
her.
feel okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the only shadow things that like I mean I had that one I told you about, but like I said, I think that was more sleep paralysis than anything.
Right. Right.
But
And
like
yeah.
my yeah, like mine was is I went to sleep and then I remember opening my eyes, but then like I couldn't move or do anything, and then I heard my front door close. This shadowy figure came around the corner, continued to walk around the corner, got right up to me, reached out to touch me. It looked like it was about to touch me, and then I woke up.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, what I've always perceived that off as is just like my eyes were open, so I was seeing my house, but since I was still asleep,
Yeah.
my mind was just filling in blanks with stuff.
Right. Right. You were
So
basically just hallucinating, visual hallucination at that point.
yeah, because I mean, I woke up immediately right as the thing accordingly reached out to touch me, and there was
Yeah.
nothing there.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like when I woke up, I didn't feel like some ominous presence, or
Mm-hmm.
it just felt like I was tired and wanted to go back to sleep.
Right.
But yeah, that's really the only things I've ever had happen to me. But I
Right.
mean, there's been tons of, I know, tons and tons and tons of stories of shadow people.
Right. There's a lot of people that have like had experiences with shadow people before, and
Right.
most of them like either um, are from like people that are sleep depraved or gone through sleep paralysis. So it's kind of like it's very hard to distinguish. Like, okay, is this somebody that just was basically sleep deprived, or they were doing something that they should have been doing and just made them see something that is like a hallucination because they were doing something they should have been doing, or was it just something from sleep paralysis? You know,
I mean, it really sounds like to me the most obvious answer is probably the right one of this and that. In my opinion, now everybody's entitled to their own. I ain't gonna knock anybody for having their own opinion. But just my opinion is that most times it probably almost I can't say out of like any scientist will tell you you can't say anything as 100%. Nothing works like that because anything can happen.
Right.
But I give a good 99.9% that this is just like sleep paralysis, just your mind filling in gaps, seeing shadow figures, because the same things that people like you were even saying, like the time you saw that first shadow figure, one of the first things you said was, I was only getting about 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. And you were doing this for weeks on end. So, yeah, your body got exhausted, you went to sleep.
Oh, no, I didn't go to sleep yet. I was still awake.
Oh, yeah, but even being awake, you can still see it. I was awake and overseas, and I still saw the shit after being awake so long.
All right, I understand what you're saying.
Mind gets tired, and mind needs sleep too, just like the body.
Right, I get that. I agree with you on that 100%.
But, I mean, but like I said, the one thing that I can't account for that you can is I wasn't there. I didn't have the experience and the feelings that went along with it. And there's a lot to be said from that point missing.
Right. And like I said, that's the one thing that is kind of hard to like prove that what this phenomenon is, because you have like scientific data that basically say that this is more hallucination than something spiritual. And since alternate dimensions are more theory based right now, which basically they are, like we have no real evidence to conclude that there's an actual dimension that's basically pushed up against ours where these things exist.
See, one theory I heard, and now this was like probably one of the least like famous theories I've seen. Seemed kind of crazy, but kind of cool in the same aspect. Is that one of the popular theories is that when you sleep, your brain works at a higher capacity than it does when you're awake.
Yeah.
Because it's not having to use motor functions and all this other stuff, so where all the time and effort spent into motor functions and everything else